It's time for you to watch another video. This one's actually about a scythe I made. I got the inspiration from a web series, meaning a series not really readily available on TV. You gotta watch it on like YouTube and stuff like that, by Rooster Teeth. If you're a fan of Halo, you're probably a fan of Red vs. Blue, which means you know who Rooster Teeth is. Anyway, the show I'm talking about is Ruby, and the main character, Ruby Rose, is a scythe builder. I got some more of an inspiration from the fact that some scythe builders were said to have one of the best spiritual connections with the world and the universe around them of anyone. And that by being able to wield a scythe, they could wield their own spirit. But enough about my inspiration. How I made this was, this part here used to be a tree lopper. Have you ever seen one that's like really long and they use it to saw trees and stuff like that? Branches anyway. You can tell that by the teeth, which I've got on here to act as a guard. Now, most people only think of the scythe as a traditional scythe, which has, well, for one, it'd be a bit shorter. That there would probably cut off it. And you'd have a handle there and a handle there to hold it by. Also, a farming scythe, the blade would be out to here instead of out to here. And it'd be turned this way. That way, all you'd have to do would be to swing it around and you'd be able to cut grass, corn, wheat, stuff like that. This is what's known as a dueling scythe or a fighting scythe. And if you didn't believe they existed, in your face, they do. However, although I do have this one here sharpened for demonstration, I will not actually use it as a weapon. It's more of a training implement. Spiritual training. Anyway, I attached the guard. This here's not a very good guard, by the way. It's only hardened plastic. I attached the guard to wood. I actually had to chop down a small tree. I'm told this is beech wood, which isn't very good. I hope to find a real light metal. Now, if you watch certain kinds of like anime and stuff like that, or you've seen comic books or something where people wield a scythe, it'll be something like this right here. The problem with that is, as heavy as it is, you wouldn't be able to wield it because, one, the scythe is already recognized as one of the most dangerous weapons in the world. That is the weaponized scythe. Not just to your opponent, but to you yourself. Because the wrong move and you can literally cut off your own head with it. This, a cross scythe, has a full crescent blade, which would look real cool if it was only for looks. The idea is so you have a better field of guard. And really, fighting scythes, that's all they're used for anyway. That's why they have a guard on them, really. If someone was to try to hit you with a sword, you might see people try this, bring up the handle. If the handle's a light metal, it could cut through, bend, or dent it. If the handle's wood, it'll most certainly cut through. You go by the guard on the end of the blade here, or the guard right here, to either trap the weapon and then parry it, or just knock the weapon away. I have a slightly curved handle for it because that's what's needed to be able to wield it correctly. Now, heavier scythes like this one do exist, but they don't have the full blade. And they don't have that there because that wouldn't be any good at all. That would just be for looks, basically. The blade would end right about there and start coming down actually right there. They might have a guard here That'd be about it. And the handle would most certainly be thicker. By the way, to avoid any copyright claims, I have no idea where that picture came from. It's just an anime angel girl with a scythe. That's about all it is. Anyway, it's time to see this thing in action. Let's go demonstrate it.
Here we are at the river, and right now we're going to see how John's scythe works that he made, and we're going to see a couple demonstrations of how it can be used and all kinds of stuff like that. I really hope you enjoyed this video too. He actually made that thing all by himself. I didn't have no part in this, but he wanted it on video, so here we are, getting the video done. There he is right now, and he's going to show you a demonstration on how to use this thing.
By the way, something I forgot to kind of neglected to mention earlier. You're going to have to get the camera function for this. I had to put 2 screws in on this side and 1 there on the back to make sure this was held in. And I had to make a hole there to put a screw and a bolt, screw and a nut, something like that, right there to keep the blade pretty much steady. It only moves a very little bit, as you can see. And a little bit of movement is a good thing, otherwise there'd be too much resistance and your blade would break. There's 2 ways you can use this. The first way I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate. Not a good idea for a scythe like this, because if you're doing it against concrete or something, you can actually damage the blade because it's rubbing against the ground. But it is a good way for a heavier scythe. Like that. Running with the blade against the ground, dragging behind it. It allows for more momentum behind the blade. But you can also run with it pressed out in front of you like this. That way at a minute's notice, guard it. Another thing I'm going to show you is bracing. Now if you're not using the scythe, you're just holding it, you can put it like this right here, or this right here, to make sure it stays in place. But to brace it as if you're making a challenge, you swing it around to where you're ready for it, you put it against the ground, blade facing up. Now I have done this like a before mentioned, so I don't know how well. Guarding. That right there will lock the sword, as already said. That right there will simply shift it away from it. Probably could have done a bit more work on the blade. That's my mistake though. Yup, definitely better resist it. However, by what people are telling me, the handle should have broken a long time ago. Let alone the plastic part of the gun. That's a weaponized scythe. The traditional scythe would be used kind of like this.
traditional scythe example right now.
This here's a bunch of grass or weeds or something I need to get out of my way. Either that or it's wheat, corn, maize, or grain that I need harvested, right? What about the hand there, which I have to build inside this one doesn't have? It's a blade of crops.
Always get everything out of your way.
If you ever want to make one of these, be careful. I certainly wouldn't advise using it against anyone. I won't myself. I just kind of made it sharp for the video and stuff. Otherwise, like I said, it's a training implement. But they can be made, and they are kind of easy to make. The hard part is getting the blade to the right consistency. Other than that, just be careful with it. Peace out.